when I was first starting the Sheena Metal experience, I think I was maybe a year in and still trying to get into that mindset and out of that mindset that you only work when people come to you and approach you. And I had my next guest, who's going to be up here in 2 minutes, on the show, and he told me this wonderful story about just that, about how he learned from being a television star in the 70s and 80s that it was okay to create your own projects, and it was okay, and that there was a time when it wasn't. And it just made me go full steam ahead on every project I wanted to create and not be so scared, like I think all of us are, of, well, can I make that TV show? Can I write that pilot? Do I have to wait for somebody to tell me it's okay to do this? And it was advice from him that set me on the way to writing my own show for next year. So please welcome to the stage, he needs no introduction, the amazing Richard Hatch is here. That coming off of Battlestar Galactica and being a big star in the 70s and the 80s, that there was a time where you just kind of listened to what the agent told you to do, right? I mean, you didn't say, you know what I want to do is produce my next show and I'm going to write it. There really wasn't that.
I never listened to anybody. Any artists in here?
Make some noise.
We are rebels!
Yes!
Freedom! Usually only men get that, right? Braveheart. Any men in here watch Braveheart? No?
Are you gonna moon me? You're not gonna moon me, are you?
By the way, I love all the little circles
nice?
there. It looks like a star field.
I know. I was telling somebody tonight that I'm from Connecticut, so if given my own way, I would wear like a pink pleated skirt and a cardigan sweater and a polo underneath and penny loafers, because that's my natural go-to.
I'm so disappointed. Where is that?
So well, because now I'm at the Improv, and when they first allowed me to do this outside the box thing, they said, just make sure it's funny. And I thought, I need to get funny shirts. Because my shirts are only funny if you're a lawyer.
I have a funny scarf.
Yeah, you have a funny scarf.
You like that?
It's fantastic.
Is it funny?
It's like penguin woven. I feel bad for the penguin. So you, my friend, have you really always been like that? Like, just knew that you could create your own stuff, and you were one of the first actors to get involved in conventions and going out and meeting your fans. And I think that's beautiful, and that's what it's all about, right?
By the way, I'm going to answer that question, but is that your wallet?
That's my phone.
Oh. I was going to say, you're really trusting. My God, it's just right there.
Because I'm waiting for George Securis to text me and tell me when he's going to be here.
I'm a big West Side Story guy.
Oh, so then you get it.
Oh my God. By the way, I'm the only straight guy that loves West Side Story. Okay? No, really, seriously. When I saw In and Out, I thought, I must be gay, but I'm not. I mean, I'm like, I love musicals, romantic comedies, but I also like Braveheart, okay? So both sides of the equation are very well developed. Thank you very much.
Story's a musical about tough guys that are going to knife each other in an alley. It's not like a girl, it's not the Lion King. You know, the dance sequences are like ass kicking.
I know, they really are.
Literally and figuratively.
Well, the choreographer on that, my God. Amazing. Anyway, so you asked me about, what did you ask me?
When you got the first idea to go to a convention and meet your fans.
Well, I think you asked a bigger question than that, and I'll answer that. We, unfortunately...
Or that one.
Actors come from all walks of life, and, some people got degrees, PhDs, some people are athletes, some people are this and that. We find our way into the acting thing. And somehow, some way, we move into this place where we start giving away our power, waiting for somebody to make decisions for us, trying to please, trying to get people to love us, and we stop trusting who we are. I watch people dumb down over and over again, and I can only say for myself, I did the same thing, except I was pissed at myself, because I was like, something's not right in this equation. I'm listening to people who may, in many cases, were not remotely as smart as I was, as knowledgeable as I was, and I'm deferring to them. And by the way, I'm deferring to them and getting screwed over and over and over again. Managers, agents, this, that,
Sure.
I can't even tell you. Who said the sure?
I said sure. Hi, I'm Sheena, and I'll be your host tonight.
That got me right there. Solar plex as well. And we actors, we do get rejected a lot, and you can get rejected 1,000 times, and all it takes is one, right? Same thing for a relationship, same thing for the job that'll change your life. All it takes is one yes. And I got to a place where I'd been so many places, and I was so really conflicted about my career. I had so many things going on that no matter how much money I made, I felt unhappy, I was miserable, I felt unspiritual. I thought, you can't be spiritual and have money at the same time. So I went through that whole thing, and then I read a book that talked about how you can actually, money is an extension of self-worth, it's an extension of energy. I mean, I was always on a search trying to find out how things worked. My biggest thing was to find out, what is the equation of life? How does this life work? What makes it work? What makes it not work? Why do some people get this, some people don't get that? I was always asking the deeper questions. And it led me, as always, you can read all the books and study and get all the degrees, but ultimately you gotta study, you gotta kind of trust this deeper, intuitive part of ourselves, right? And ultimately it got to the point where I started realizing that life is really not about what other people decide. It's not about people having power over you. It's not about people making decisions and trying to getting them to love you and think you're cool and hire you. It's about you stopping the process of waiting for other people to decide what's going to happen with you.
Absolutely.
Waiting for the phone call, waiting for somebody to appreciate you. And then you step into this process, because I can't tell you how many people make movies, television shows, do all kinds of things that I used to think, oh, they must be really smart, really amazing, really unbelievable people. What you start to discover is there are unbelievable people doing things. There are. But there's a lot of unbelievable people that don't have a clue about what they're doing, take credit for things that other people do, that so often the talented, gifted, visionary people don't get credit for what they come up with.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's hear it for Richard. Absolutely.
So ultimately...
That was me that just said that.
I know, I like that. By the way, I will take a breath here and there,
No. Preach it, my brother. I'm loving it. Are you kidding me? That's why you're here. If I wanted a squeaky little actor that didn't talk, I would have had you in the studio.
By the way, I had never seen you up on a stage before. You are absolutely wonderful. You really are.
Thank you.
No, seriously. I love your energy, your heart, your soul, everything about you.
Thank you. I feel the same way every time I interview you. I just love your energy so much. That's why I asked you to do this.
Thank you.
Because you were so magic. It was interesting because the first time I interviewed you, I had not seen the Battlestar redo.
Right.
I had seen it, of course, when I was a kid.
You were a big Battlestar fan of the original?
Of the original. No, love the original.
Okay.
And
but you were a Starbucks fan, right? Like all the rest of the women, right?
No.
The naughty boy.
No.
No, really?
No, it was all about you, my friend.
You liked me?
I liked you. And I'll tell you why in a minute. I told you on the air.
Okay, tell me why.
I'll tell you why now. Because I had seen you in the Jan and Dean biopic that you did. I told you this in the studio, where you played Jan. And for those of you who don't know, Jan and Dean were kind of the big the Beach Boys. And I love that music because I grew up in Huntington Beach. And then Jan was in a horrible car accident, and the way they put him back together for the 60s was really amazing, because he shouldn't have ever been able to move again. And you had to play him when he was like the super hunky bad boy, and then afterwards, and really show his struggle. And to this day, that's one of my favorite performances by an actor ever.
Wow.
You were amazing.
Well, I don't know how many actors are in here. I have a feeling there's a lot of artists in here. It's one thing to play somebody after they're dead, passed away. It's another thing to play somebody while they're still alive.
Yeah.
And on the set watching you. I grew up watching Jan and Dean, and they're making the movie of his life, and this was after his accident. And so I'm not trying to make light of anything, because I got to know Jan Barry really well. And I really connected to him because I had struggled. I could build a bridge, which is what, for me, acting is all about. Sure. It's translating language, metaphors, syntax, but building a bridge between your heart, soul, who you are, and finding that bridge to another person, where if you go deep enough, you find that we connect. We all connect if you
We're
go
all the
deep
same,
enough. So I would just watch him walking around. He was on the set. And talk about an obligation or responsibility of portraying somebody's life that's right there on the set. And most people would be intimidated by that. I was inspired by that. I would walk around and get into his body language, you know, because he had had the accident and had aphasia, brain surgery, and so part of him was paralyzed. Inside his brain, he could think clearly. He was very intelligent. He was the most gifted human being, wonderful person, and yet the distance between in here and out there was 1 billion miles.
And he kept performing.
And it was the struggle to get that through. Now the one thing was he couldn't really talk, but he could sing.
Yeah.
Now he was never a great singer, okay, but you know he was an artist. He was a singer. He wrote songs. They found this energy of that time, but it seemed that the impairment of the brain never affected the part that sang, right? So he was on the set, and me and Bruce Davidson got to.
Bruce played Dean.
Bruce played Dean, and we got to hang out with them, get to know them. We actually performed with them all over the country. We went to the Greek, you know,
awesome.
Disneyland, performed with them. I could never remember the lyrics. It was horrible. Oh, Dead Man's Curve.
Jan did a better job with the lyrics.
I did never remember the lyrics of that song. It was horrible. But anyway, I would just sit there when a scene would come up, a really poignant scene, and one of the most poignant scenes was when he's talking to Bruce Davidson and his girlfriend, and he's trying to talk about what music means to him. And, you know, it was such a powerful scene, and he's right there. Imagine the person that you're portraying is right in front of your face. I just looked in his eyes, reliving that moment. And that's all I needed to do. And it's
beautiful.
It's totally connected me to his heart, his soul, everywhere that he was. And it was one of my favorite scenes. And I will have to say this really quick. This is funny about acting, and I'm sure all of you have experienced this some way, somehow. But when you have something really powerful to play, I mean, I started like, I remember it was a sunny day, and it was like 2 o'clock, and I thought, okay, there goes the sun. I now have to really start shifting my energy and focusing on where this character is living. Because as always, you know, I wanted to do him justice. And because I really cared that much, I just began to focus on going to that place where I could identify and connect to his frustration, his need to communicate, his need to make contact, and the inability to do that, and what that built up in him. And I spent that whole time doing that and getting to that point where we finally got to that scene. And it was, for me, one of the best pieces of work that I've ever done in my life.
But I think it's one of the best pieces of work that anybody's ever done.
Well, the crew was, I'm not happy with everything in that movie, but there was a couple of scenes, I have to say, the crew, you know, clapped. I mean, that doesn't happen very often, right? And then it was like such an overwhelming, I had spent several hours going into this deep, profound place, which, look, most of us will spend a lot of money self-medicating, not wanting to go there, okay? We spend our life avoiding pain. I was going into this place, and after that scene, it was like, oh, I can let it all go. Bring me a beer, let's celebrate. And I'm sitting here, and I'm feeling so good, and the AD comes up and goes, we have to shoot that again. I swear to God, I had let it all go, and we went up to do it, and I honestly didn't feel anything. I was numb. I was just in no man's land. And by the way, this is an acting thing that I'm sure if you have a great acting teacher, they'll tell you this. Just stop doing so much. Just let it go. Be in the moment, trust. But I just let it go, and I couldn't have no other choice. And in that moment, I just said the words, and they printed it, and I walked away feeling horrible. I thought, oh, they're not going to use that take. They're going to use this side angle they shot me at, and then they shot the front angle because the other take was brilliant, you know. And the funny part of it is, this goes to show you, you know, how things are perceived, but when they actually played it, they used the other take, the second take. And it's a funny thing. Sometimes you think, when you think that it's just absolutely the very best, and if you ever get to edit, and every actor should edit, should direct once, should produce once, if you never want to do it again, so you have an appreciation of the other side of the equation. And then you start editing, and then you have to go through one pass after another, in which you can't let go of because you love that moment and scene. And by take 3 or pass 3, you gotta cut that out because it's getting in the way and fracking up. I like that word. Fracking up the flow, the rhythm, the whole thing. And so all I can tell you is that the scene was wonderful.
Yeah.
And it was one I did, felt like I did nothing. Isn't that the weirdest thing?
Because you acted less, and you just let it seep into you. I think that all of us as artists are all very empathic people, and we feel like we have to do something, and what we really have to do is just suck in the energy of what we're supposed to be doing, and then just do it. Then play a lot of pretend. You are magic, my friend. Richard Hatch, everybody. Thanks for coming. Starbuck my ass. How about you? You guys are great. You have